into Houston, I thought, well, I was smart. I'm going to whip into this station over here and I'm going to buy me a street map of Houston. And then I'll be able to find it. Yeah, exactly. You open a street map of Houston, and the lines are about that far apart, and it just looks like a graph paper. And that's like this quarter of Houston. It's a little bitty piece of Houston, and there's no way you can find your place. But you know, I realized that I've never really been lost.
Yeah.
No, I've never really been lost. I mean, we must understand the word lost if we're going to determine whether we're lost or not, right? So I looked up the word lost. The word lost, unable to find one's way and not knowing one's whereabouts. Well, I've always been able to find my way out. It might not be the most convenient or the shortest, but I can find my way out. So I must not have been lost. Never been lost. I made it to here. I'm still going. I wasn't lost. Every man has his own way of perceiving things and looking at things. Same thing with women. We all have our own way of looking at things and perceiving things and having our own ideas what would be the best. And sometimes when we realize that we might know more or have a better idea than someone else, we tend to want to help them out. Give them a little direction. Let them know how to do it our way, because our way's got to be better than theirs, because theirs doesn't look like it's working, right? Now let's go to Numbers. Let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 12. Now Moses and they've been out in the wilderness for some time, and Miriam and Aaron, Moses' sister and his brother come up and they spoke. It says in verse 1 of chapter 12 of Numbers, it says, "And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, Hath the Lord indeed spoken only to Moses? Hath he not spoken also to us? Moses, you did something you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to marry an Ethiopian woman, and you know it, and so you must be wrong, and we know that we're right. And so we're going to speak against you, and we're going to tell you that what you're doing is not right and you're wrong." Now what I love, the part, if you read the rest of the chapter, it gets very interesting. Because at the very end of the second verse, the one we're reading, it says, "And the Lord heard it." And shortly after that, Aaron and Miriam found out that the Lord doesn't only speak to Moses, that he would speak to them too. And he did. And it wasn't a very pleasant conversation that God had with Miriam and Aaron. Now sometimes God does the same thing to us. We get a little divine, I call it divine direction. Sometimes we find ourselves in a place where we think we know what's best for somebody else. Sometimes the things that's happening in our own very life might be related to this little story right here, how God gave Aaron and Miriam a little correction, a little direction, a little divine intervention. Sometimes we look at circumstances and we think, well, my way's got to be the best way. There can be no other way that it could work unless we do it the way that I've determined, and in my experience, I know that my way has got to be the best way to do this. Right? That's right. Exactly how we feel sometimes. We don't want to ask for directions from someone because we might appear to be a bit inferior. And if you're down in Arkansas or Georgia, or nothing against anybody, but if you're down in there's a little highway, Highway 1, before they built the freeway that goes from Shreveport, Louisiana, down into towards New Orleans, that direction. And it used to be the only way to get from Shreveport south. And when you turned off of the interstate at Shreveport and started south on Highway 1, you entered a whole different realm. You pull up into a little town, and the little gas station, just like it was in the pictures that you see on the Andy Griffith Show, and the guys are sitting out in front of it, and doesn't look like you want to stop and ask anybody for directions. I'll drive to the next town, and then I'll drive till I hit water because I know I'm going the right direction. We sometimes don't want to, when we see someone and we perceive who they might be, we don't want to seem inferior to them. We don't want to let them know that, we don't want to let them know that we might be lost because we don't know where they might send us. And this is the fear that I really believe that keeps us from asking. I remember putting things together and having leftover parts. They must have sent extras. I didn't need them to put it together. It looks good to me. And then when something happens, oh, I see where that part went. What did I do with it? But see, we're reluctant to surrender ourselves down to being less than somebody else. We're reluctant to surrender ourselves down to something that would make us feel embarrassed or out of place or inferior. And as I study and as I think and I pray about finding ways to help people surrender that, because we can't come to Jesus until we surrender that. We have to come to a place in our life that we realize that there is nothing that I can do as hard as I try to ever earn or acquire in any other way than just to get down on my knees and say, Lord, I need you in my life. There's no other way. And until we're willing to surrender that, until we're willing to pull into that gas station and the guy with the big straw hat and the bib overalls and the big beer can in his hand and say, which way is Baton Rouge? And trust what he says, until we're willing to surrender all of who we are and all of our pride and come to the place and humble ourselves to realize that I'm not the only one on the face of this earth, and I'm not the best one on the face of this earth, and my way is not the best way every time. Aaron and Miriam had to discover that God puts people in places, and God puts them there for a purpose. And God tells us in His Word that we are to pray for our leaders and pray for everybody that He's put in power, because everybody that's in power, He has placed them there for a specific design and a specific purpose. But see, we come to a place of like, well, He doesn't know what He's doing. God didn't say I was going to put people in place that know what they're doing. I'm going to put people in place to do what I need them to do. And the guy that knows how to do it all is not going to be willing to do it the way I want him to do it. So see, we come to a place where we see it. I mean, it's really been emphasized in the last 105 days of the people unwilling to say, you know what, God is in control. And whoever God has put there, if I don't feel, if in myself I don't really understand, I need to seek God in these things. I need to seek God in all the decisions that I have to make, because I have to, I don't want to wind up like Aaron and Miriam. I don't want to come up to somebody and say, I don't know what you're doing, I don't know how you got that job, you're not worth it. Because God might correct me the same way He did Aaron and Miriam. Because this is God's person that He put in power. This is, we look at all the leaders across the world and we see the things that are happening, and that Kim Jong-un or whatever his name is in China or in North Korea, both China and North Korea. We look at those two guys and we think they're crazy. We think they don't know what they're doing. And we think, wow, they're just going to mess up the whole world. God, how can you put that guy in there? He don't know what he's doing. Did God only speak to him? And God heard it, is what it said. God knows where your heart. He knows how you feel, and He knows what you're thinking. And He wants us to come to a place that we surrender and say, Lord, it looks crazy to me out there. Aaron and Miriam would have been a lot better off to get down on their knees and say, God, if you only speak to Moses, Lord, then we don't understand. God, help me to understand. God, help me to grow closer to you, that I will understand what you're doing. But see, we get just like Aaron and Miriam. We stand up and say, well, that ain't right. My daddy taught me better than that. And my daddy learned from my grandpa. My grandpa was the smartest man in the world. We call it getting it in our blood, and getting it in our system. We grew up that way, and we understand it, and we have faith in it, because that's all we've ever put faith in. See, we have to learn to take our faith away from what we have put our faith in, because the Scripture tells us that anything that we put our faith in becomes our idol. And idols can be many things. Idols can be many things. And as I think about all the different things that have transpired in our country and in our world in the last year, I really feel like God is, what are you trusting in? Who are you believing in? What are you looking at? Quit looking at the world. Come back. Come on back, kids. Come back over here. Let's pray together. Let's get back together and let's be one, and let's all come together, and let's let the world know that regardless of what happens, God's people still follow God. God's people still come together, and they still pray, and they still seek Him out, and they don't question the people that He's put in power, and they don't question His actions. We can say, well, it's just not right, Pastor, then people are killing people. No, it's not. It's not right, the chemical warfare that they use. No, it's not right. Not in my eyes, not in the way that I see things, not in the way that I would run the world, but God didn't put me in charge to run the world. God put me here to pray to Him, to seek to Him. And if I'll do that, He'll give me a peace. You notice it didn't say that Moses picked up a stick and hit Aaron. That's what we would have done, right? Hey, you get out of here, my brother. You know, two brothers? Come on. If my brother would walk up and said, does God only speak to you? I said, no. Let me speak to you a little bit. My mom would make us go outside and fight. She didn't try to break up the fight. Y'all go outside if you're going to fight. And don't come in here and ask me to bandage you up either. That's two brothers. But see, Moses didn't do that because Moses didn't lose his focus. Moses said, it's okay. I understand that what you see and the way you feel is wrong, and you come against me, but that's okay. Because it's not about me. And it's not about what we're coming against. It's about our relationship with God and someone trying to intervene in that. Someone trying to lead us into a place of being unhappy and unpeaceful and afraid. See, this is what that's all about. All the things that are happening out there are things that are happening that the enemy wants us to be afraid. I would really believe that the enemy would have it to where we're so afraid together that we wouldn't. Have you ever thought about that? The Franklin Graham, we went up to see Franklin Graham in Phoenix, and all those people there. And someone would say, well, what if you wanted to kill a lot of people, this would be a good place to do it. See, the fear overcomes the thought of God even being in control. Fear takes over in such a way that we can't overcome it if we lose our focus. Moses didn't lose his focus. And we don't need to lose our focus. Just because things aren't happening the way that it looks like it should, you know what? God is still God, and God is still sovereign, and God is still going to keep all His promises. Amen. There's not one that He's not going to keep. He will lead, He will guide, He will protect, and He'll be here throughout it all. And it's time for the people of God, the church that is Jesus Christ, to stand tall and say, it's okay. I know you don't understand the world, and I know you can't understand it. If you don't receive the Word of God, you're not going to understand it. But that's okay. I don't need to strike back at you. I don't need to ridicule you or put you down. I just need to pray for you. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 16. You know, the next time, there's an old hymn that I really enjoy singing, and we sing it quite frequently. One that I really enjoy is one that we need to keep on our mind. The next time we think that we don't know where to go, that song says, where could I go but to the Lord? There's no place else to go. I just come to mind, there's no place like home. There's no place, where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go but to the Lord? Do it 3 times. Amen. Proverbs 16 verse 9. A man's heart deviseth his ways, but the Lord directeth his steps. We see things and we kind of come up with an idea in our mind of how things are going to go, but if we're focused on God, He's going to direct our steps. And He's going to put us in the place we need to be, and He's going to bring us to the comfort and the joy of being able to come together in this place and sing and praise and just be joyful. For me, when we're here, just like we were here tonight and when we were this morning, and we're here and we're singing and we're praising and we're just gathered together, all of a sudden it's like the world outside is not even there. God takes it all and puts it away and says, just enjoy my presence. Enjoy me right here. Enjoy my people. Enjoy being together. Because you can make a plan, but let me direct your steps. Let me put you in a place that will bring you a little peace and a joy and a little comfort where you can walk out in the world and say, you know what? I love Jesus and He loves me. And that's really all I want to think about today. Let's go to stay in Proverbs, go to the verse 3, verses 1 through 3. The preparations of the heart in man and the answer of his tongue is from the Lord. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weigheth the spirits. And now He gives us exactly what to do. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Commit thy ways unto the Lord, and your thoughts will be established. Lord, I woke up this morning and I want you to direct my steps. I'm going to commit my ways to you today, Lord. I want everything that I do today to be the way you would have it to be done. And God says, okay, now I'll put your thoughts in place. As you walk through this day and as things are happening, you'll be mindful of your prayer this morning. And I'll remind you of it as we go through this day that you ask me to guide your steps, and you'll see me working in your life. So many times we come to a place that we get caught up in the everyday. And I mean, I'm preaching to the preacher because so many times that the events of the day, the events of the things we see, and I've been to the place that, and I have been for some time, that television is not a very fruitful thing. And the way we live, and where Ness and I live, we don't have electricity, so we live on solar. And I'll sit right there and say, I'm not wasting the good electricity that the good Lord gave me on that. Because for us, every bit of electricity we have comes straight from Him. If that sun don't shine, we live in the dark. Literally. So I lay there and think, well, God tells me He'll give me all that I need. And the sun shines bright and everything gets charged up good and everything's working good, and you turn on that on TV and you're like, am I going to waste what God gave me on this? It's a marketing thing. If you watch the news in the morning time, I've not had the patience to count how many commercials there are in one commercial break. I mean, it's really bad in the morning because they know everybody's watching the news, trying to get the weather report, trying to figure out what they're going to do. And I'm thinking, what I'd love to see is a news reporter come on and say, okay, we're going to take about a 10-minute break here. Why don't y'all go pray for a little while and then come back? Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be great? Because it's going to do you a whole lot more good than any of these commercials that we got lined up here. But that would be his last day as a But it would be fun. I think it'd be fun to, even if it took you 5 years to get that job, and get on the TV in one morning and say, well, folks, we're going to take a break right here, so go pray for 10 minutes, and because these commercials ain't worth nothing. That'd be fun to do. I'd quit at that. I'd just quit. I don't want to do it no more. But that's the truth. If we would spend as much time seeking God out early in the morning as we do seeking out the traffic report, what gets me is I want to see the weather. That's what I want to see is the weather. There's a big window right there beside the TV. I go, hey, it's sunny outside. And usually that's more accurate. It's going to be windy, I can see. Oh no, it's not wind, it's not going to blow today. Who do I believe? Commit thy ways unto the Lord, and He will direct your thoughts. How amazing is that? How simple it is to not be feeling lost. I'm not lost. Lost again. Unable to find one's way and not knowing one's whereabouts. As I think about that, as I was studying this, as I put this in my mind, I know my whereabouts. My whereabouts are in the Lamb's Book of Life. My whereabouts are written on that page. And so I know exactly where I'm going. I may not know how to get there. I may have lost my sense of direction a time or two, but I know where I'm going to end up. I know where I'm not lost. Not lost at all. Jesus is going to come and get me, and he's going to take me there, and I'm not going to need a guard.